The week from December 1st to 5th at Fairmont Crest unfolds as a series of days when every crack in the Dupree family and the people orbiting them can no longer be hidden behind a polished facade. The parties, events, and polite smiles that once covered up schemes and secrets are now nothing more than a thin coat of paint, while underneath, each character is being driven right up against the edge of their endurance. They are forced to confront selfish choices, relationships warped by power, and truths that have been buried for far too long. Winterfest, originally designed as a stage for the Dupree family to refresh their public image, slowly turns into a mirror exposing everything they want to hide, and the entire week feels like a tense overture before the final curtain falls. Monday opens with Vanessa at the eye of the storm, as her business decisions are questioned by Danny and a group of RHOP club members. On paper, they are arguing about event spending, decoration invoices, and VIP packages, but everyone understands they are reaching into something deeper, the flow of money from the club's fund, from murky financial ties that could touch the Dupree family itself and the underground operations connected to Joey. Vanessa is forced to answer the bigger question. Is she truly just protecting the club's future, or is she unintentionally, or deliberately, shielding sums of money no one can properly explain? The way she pushes back, whether by using money to buy silence or by spinning a narrative of personal sacrifice to sway emotions, makes Danny feel betrayed, as if someone who once stood shoulder to shoulder with her is now willing to trade away morality for a tighter grip on power. That same day, Smitty confronts Joey head-on to protect Martin, not only from legal risks stemming from shady contracts and deals, but also from Joey's dangerous allure, from a man who can use debt, emotion and loyalty to turn Martin into a pawn. Smitty is both furious and afraid, because he understands that the moment he calls Joey out, he puts himself in line as the next target if he has stumbled too close to secrets others are determined to keep buried. In another corner, Derek corners Andre with piercing questions about Ashley, forcing him to face whether he has truly let her go, or whether he has been using Danny and his other relationships to cover an old obsession that has never really faded. Andre is pushed to choose between admitting that he still loves her, still feels jealousy, still uses Ashley's feelings as a bargaining chip in the power game, or continuing to deny everything just to hold his position, at the cost of sacrificing the last shard of integrity he has left. At the end of the day, Vernon delivers to Bill a series of harsh truths that few dare to say aloud, especially about how blindly he trusts Haley, how Bill's relationships always end in ruins, and how he may be repeating the same old cycle again, this time with consequences that extend far beyond divorce court and may reach as far as life and death. Bill is torn between pride, the need to be loved, and a growing suspicion that the woman lying next to him at night may be the one quietly planning his end. On Tuesday, the emotional storm shifts toward Danny and Bill as they both relive the fierce moments of their past, love, passion, arguments, betrayals, all woven together like an old film being rewound. Their inner worlds are pulled back to the days when they were still together, while they must also confront the question of whether either of them ever truly moved on. Naomi and Chelsea sit on the sidelines, unable to stay calm, because every glance, every prolonged silence between their parents drags them back to childhood memories of being made the centerpieces in adult wars. A small, quiet part of them longs for the family to go back to the way it was, yet they are horrified remembering exactly how much they were hurt when pulled into that vortex. On the opposite side, Haley and Randy discuss escalating their plan to kill Bill. Debts are tightening, time is running out, and Bill's cunning makes them realize that if they do not act soon, their entire scheme could be exposed. They begin to talk about more ruthless options, from staging a public accident to more natural-looking choices that are harder to trace. Joey's earlier warning that he knows Haley went to see Randy now hangs over them like a blade, turning them not only into conspirators but into people who must constantly live with the fear of being betrayed by their own ally. At the same time, Jacob decides to help a friend in serious trouble, a seemingly kind choice that carries the risk of turning him into a key witness in a future case, because every signature and every act of standing surety can be dragged into the light if events take a darker turn. Andre, meanwhile, is faced with a proposal to marry as part of an illicit alliance from a powerful force, opening up the possibility that he could step straight into the center of a power vortex if he agrees to trade Danny, his feelings, his conscience, and even his public image. He is torn between ambition and the fear that he will become someone he no longer recognizes when he looks in the mirror. On Wednesday, danger is no longer just a metaphor when Shanice and Ted actually find themselves trapped in a situation that could threaten their lives, linked to evidence they have inadvertently discovered about Peaches' death. If the awful truth is that Leslie, driven by jealousy and obsession, had a hand in it, then the clues Shani stumbles upon and the medical data, timelines and records in Ted's possession turn them into a threat to a killer who is more than willing to erase them. They must choose between staying silent to survive, carrying the weight of guilt, or risking everything to expose the truth and becoming targets in the process. Meanwhile, Vernon and Joey clash in a confrontation that pushes both men to the edge. Vernon uses his experience, hard-won wisdom and political instincts to strike straight at the darkest corners of how Joey makes money, exploits the vulnerable, and builds an empire out of women's desperation and cracks in the system. Joey begins with denial, then moves to personal attacks, but when he realizes Vernon will not be shaken, the cold, ruthless face beneath the charm slowly emerges, accompanied by veiled warnings that need no explanation. Anyone who stands in his way can disappear naturally. Vernon walks away from that encounter knowing clearly that he has accidentally touched something far bigger than himself. Also that day, Isaiah makes a bold move toward Eva, perhaps a public declaration or proposal, thrusting her once more into the center of conflict, this time not only over identity but over her future. Kat feels her position and ego challenged, Tomas is forced to confront feelings and secrets he has tried to hide, and Eva finds herself having to choose between a man who dares to defend her openly and the invisible chains of family and past. June's story also becomes a warning bell when Samantha looks at it and tells herself she is different, yet each impulsive choice, each step taken against her family threatens to repeat the same tragedy in an even harsher and more unforgiving context. On Thursday, Anita is compelled to seek out Elon and ask for police intervention, a move that shows she has decided the situation can no longer be handled within the family. Whether it is because of blackmail, threats to expose the truth about the Barbara Fund, the origins of a child, or certain financial schemes, bringing the law into play means placing herself squarely in the crosshairs of forces profiting from the dark. Leslie, on this day, can no longer maintain her usual arrogance when she must actively approach Nicole for help in a matter of life and death, which could be legal or professional support related to Peaches' death, the truth about bloodlines or the right to inherit the fund. Having to bow her head before a woman she once viewed as a rival tears Leslie apart inside, between the instinct to survive and the pride that has fueled her for years. In another track, an explosive argument between Samantha and her aunts breaks out when her imitations of Kat and Chelsea with Nathan are exposed, revealing that the toxic patterns of the previous generation are still being passed down, even if no one intended it. In his role as father, Martin may unload all the blame onto Kat, believing she has infused this household with a reckless way of life for which Samantha is now paying the price. Chelsea and Madison, meanwhile, are forced to work together despite their discord, caught up in something that pushes them to seek help from an unlikely outside source, perhaps Joey, Anita, or some unexpected figure, and that alone is humiliating for both of them, but they have no choice if they want to keep everything from spiraling further out of control. On Friday, Winterfest officially begins, but instead of being a night to cleanse reputations, it becomes a funnel concentrating all the week's tension. Damone Roberts appears as an honored guest, yet in this context, he becomes an outsider's pair of eyes, witnessing handshakes that are too tight, cold stares behind smiles, and awkward encounters backstage. Everything is staged to shine, but unease seeps into every corner of the event. In the midst of this, Anita makes a shocking announcement. The truth about Leslie, about bloodlines, about the Barbara Fund, or about a hidden child, any of which could shatter the power structure the family has spent years constructing. If she declares that Leslie is not Barbara's biological daughter and strips her of the fund's inheritance, Leslie will be pushed to the brink, and everyone who has pinned hopes on that flow of money, out of idealism, self-interest or ambition, will be forced to face the possibility of losing everything. Anita pays the price in her own conscience, knowing she is the one who allowed the deception to persist, and is now the one coldly cutting it off. That night, Jacob warns his brother, most likely Martin, about all the political and legal dangers closing in, from alliances and public images to seemingly innocent appearances alongside controversial figures. Martin must keep smiling for the cameras even as his mind races through a long list of things that could drag him down. In the midst of all this, Leslie does everything she can to give her daughter a meaningful night with her father, a moment she hopes will soothe all the lies. But Anita's announcement, Isaiah's actions, and Kat's and Tomas's reactions can tear that fragile plan apart in a matter of minutes. After an awkward encounter with Ted, Tomas realizes he does not know everything about what is happening around Kat, and the important question he wants to ask her, about their future, about trust, about leaving or staying in Fairmont Crest, becomes a turning point that could pull them out of danger or plunge them deeper into it, depending on Kat's choice in that critical moment. When Winterfest finally comes to an end and the lights go out, no one truly breathes easy. Each character, Vanessa, Danny, Bill, Haley, Randy, Andre, Vernon, Joey, Leslie, Anita, Jacob, Eva, Kat, Tomas, Samantha, Shanice, Ted, has moved further along a path with no way back. Murder plots, illicit alliances, confrontations no longer hidden beneath politeness, secret blood ties and financial deceptions are all tightening around them like an invisible noose. The week from December 1st to 5th is not just a series of episodes setting up a twist. It is a gradual narrowing of every character's options, leaving viewers both thrilled and unsettled, wondering who will be the first to pay the price when the secrets are finally forced into the light, and who will be willing to push someone else over the edge just to save themselves. Thank you all for your loyal support and listening.